The bull refused to leave the burning house. Then firemen found the boy inside. The first crack of light hadn't yet reached the horizon when the fire broke out. It roared alive with a sudden hungry force, consuming the eastern side of the wooden farmhouse like it had been waiting all night for the chance. The wind helped it. Twisting columns of smoke rose fast, curling black and thick into the sky. Across the pasture, Mr. Garland, an old neighbor already up tending his livestock, dropped his pail and ran for the phone, shouting over his shoulder to his sons to rouse the others. By the time the sirens cut through the dawn silence, the valley was wide awake. The Pinefield fire station was a small one, with just 2 trucks and a 6-man crew on shift, but they moved fast. The lead engine screeched to a halt just beyond the sagging wooden fence. Gravel and dirt sprayed under the tires as fireman Cole Jansen jumped down, boots hitting the earth with practiced speed. He had fought over 50 house fires in his 13 years of service, but none had started quite like this. The smoke was thick, nearly blinding, but something immediately caught his eye. There, at the foot of the porch stairs, stood a massive bull, solid, unmoving, and wild-eyed. Its black and brown hide shimmered in the glow of the flames, muscles flexing under tension, hooves tearing furrows into the dirt. It snorted loud, a deep warning growl that stopped the crew in their tracks. "What in the world?" murmured Harvick, one of the junior firefighters, already reaching for the hose. Cole raised a hand, signaling him to wait. "Hold," he said firmly, narrowing his eyes. The rest of the livestock, chickens, goats, a few cows, had broken through the rear fence and scattered into the field. But not this bull. This one stayed planted, guarding the stairs like a soldier at a gate. "It's ironclad," someone said behind him. Cole didn't turn. "That's Silas Krieg's prize bull." Silas Krieg. The name rang faintly in Cole's memory. A widower. Lived alone, quiet, kept to himself. Supposed to be off the property this weekend, if he remembered the dispatcher's note correctly. Cole moved closer, cautiously, eyes locked on the bull. Something's not right. Ironclad lowered his head, snorting again, legs spread in a stance of pure resistance. Behind them, another truck arrived. Captain Durrell jumped down and barked orders. "Contain the west side. Everyone stay clear of that bull until animal control gets here." Cole backed away. "We don't have time," he muttered. "That fire's spreading fast." Just then, a man ran up from behind the engine. "There's a kid inside," he yelled, pointing frantically toward the second-floor window, where smoke curled out in streams. "The boy! Liam! He went in!" Cole's stomach dropped. The boy. Liam Krieg, Silas's son. Another wave of panic swept over the scene. The crew began scrambling, checking gear, shouting over one another. But every path to the house led past Ironclad, and the bull wasn't budging. He was more than a threat now. He was an obstacle. A dangerous one. Captain Durrell turned toward Cole. "We can't risk it. He's too aggressive. We'll have to force him back." "No," Cole said suddenly, voice sharper than usual. Durrell blinked. "What?" Cole stepped forward again, hands outstretched. "He's not attacking. Look at him. He's not scared. He's guarding. He's protecting something. Or someone." The crew paused, watching. The bull's body was trembling, not with fear, but with purpose. Its eyes followed every move Cole made, but didn't charge. It just stood there, like it knew the house wasn't empty. "Let me try," Cole said quietly, handing his helmet to Harvick. "Cole, if he charges—" "Then he charges," Cole answered, already stepping forward. The heat from the flames pressed against his back, but he kept his eyes on Ironclad. His boots sank into the muddy ground with each step. The bull's ears twitched, but it didn't move. Cole crouched slightly, lowering his gear belt, speaking softly. "You're not here by accident, are you?" he said under his breath. "You stayed because of the boy." Ironclad let out a long, rumbling exhale. Then, slowly, he stepped aside, just enough for Cole to pass. The front door was cracked open, its paint bubbling. Cole shoved it with his shoulder and ducked inside. The smoke hit him like a wall. His training kicked in instantly. Stay low, check for structural sounds, don't breathe unfiltered air. The air inside crackled with the sound of splitting beams and crumbling plaster. He heard nothing but fire. No voices, no cries. The stairs creaked under his weight, groaning with each step. Halfway up, he nearly slipped, ash and water already mixing into a slick paste underfoot. He reached the hallway, coughing hard now, and kicked in the first door on the right. Empty. He moved to the next. There, under the bed, barely visible through the haze, was a small arm. Cole dropped to the floor and crawled in. Liam lay curled tightly, soot covering his face, his eyes shut. Cole reached for his pulse. There. Faint, but alive. "You're okay, kid," Cole whispered, scooping him up. As he turned, a deep crackling sound split through the hallway. The floor beneath the stairs had caught fire. If he went back the way he came, it would collapse before he made it down. He ran instead for the far end of the hall, where a small window looked out over the side yard. Grabbing a wooden chair, he smashed the glass. The smoke was choking now, the heat unbearable. He shouted down, "Clear that side! I'm coming out!" A pair of firefighters below saw him. One shouted back, "We got you!" Cole climbed onto the window ledge with Liam cradled in his arms, shielding the boy's face with his jacket. Then, with no other option, he jumped. They landed hard, but safe, on a tarp stretched between two ladders. The other men rushed in, pulling them clear. The air outside felt like ice after the heat inside. Cole dropped to his knees, gasping, still holding the boy. "Liam? Liam? Can you hear me?" The boy stirred faintly. His eyes opened, just a crack. Then, behind them, the house groaned one last time and the upper floor collapsed in on itself. As the paramedics took Liam from his arms and began working, Cole stood slowly, swaying. And there, a few feet away, Ironclad stood at the edge of the yard, watching silently. Then, without warning, the bull walked forward. The crowd of firemen tensed, backing up, but Ironclad did nothing violent. He moved beside the stretcher and gently nudged Liam's foot with his massive head. A quiet, low sound came from his throat. Everyone froze. Cole stepped back, watching it all, breath still ragged in his lungs. He didn't speak. He didn't have to, because somehow, everyone knew. This bull didn't just survive the fire. He waited for that boy. The paramedics rushed in. Everyone thought the story was over. It wasn't. Liam's eyes opened slowly, two faint slits blinking against the pale hospital light above him. The sheets were stiff, the smell of antiseptic thick in the air, and a low beep echoed from a machine beside him. For a long moment, the boy didn't move. Then his fingers curled weakly, brushing against the blanket. He was awake. Cole Jansen sat slouched in a corner chair, arms folded, denim jacket wrinkled from 3 days of wear. His beard had gone unshaved, and the dark circles under his eyes showed he hadn't slept much. When the nurse gently stepped aside and mouthed, "He's awake." Cole straightened, standing up slowly, unsure of what he should say. "Hey," he murmured, stepping closer to the bedside. "It's good to see those eyes open." Liam didn't answer. His gaze drifted to the window, then to the ceiling, then quickly down to his hands. His lips parted, but no sound came out. His throat was still dry, raw from the smoke. He swallowed hard. "You're safe," Cole said softly, lowering himself beside the bed. "You got out." The boy turned his face slightly, almost in acknowledgement, but still said nothing. Cole leaned back, uneasy. He didn't know why he'd stayed after the rescue. Firemen weren't usually expected to visit victims, but something about the way Liam had gripped his jacket that day, clung to him in a haze of fire and smoke, had lodged deep in Cole's chest. It wasn't just gratitude, it was fear, deep, unresolved fear. Nurses came and went. Doctors ran quiet tests. Cole stepped out when they needed space but always returned, hours later, sitting by the window or reading quietly in the corner. Each time he looked at Liam, he felt the same strange question rising. Why had the boy entered the house after the fire started? 3 days had passed, and still, no one had found Silas Krieg. "Gone," the sheriff had said flatly. "Probably fled in panic. That house was a matchbox waiting to happen." But Cole didn't believe that, and neither did the arson investigators, who'd quietly shared early findings with him. Accelerant, traces of it in the kitchen and mudroom. Burn patterns that suggested ignition points too far apart for a simple stove mishap. It hadn't been an accident. Then there was the gas can. A store clerk at Miller's Supply had confirmed that Silas Krieg had stopped by just hours before the fire, bought fuel, said he looked tired, worried, like a man about to settle something. None of it made sense, and Liam wasn't talking. Cole tried once, gently. "Do you remember what happened, buddy?" he asked, kneeling beside the bed. Liam's small hands fidgeted under the blanket. His mouth twitched, but he didn't speak. Instead, he looked toward the window again, staring out at nothing, as if something, or someone, might still be watching. Cole's instincts said not to press. He'd seen trauma take many forms: silence, rage, collapse. With kids, it often came in pictures. So the next day, he brought crayons and a sketch pad. "Ironclad would want you to draw him strong," Cole said, sliding the pad onto the table. "You think you can do that?" Liam didn't smile, but he picked up the brown crayon. The first drawing came out clumsy, Ironclad standing near the porch, flames behind him. The second was clearer. Silas, shovel in hand, head bowed. But it was the third drawing that made Cole sit up straighter. A barn, a square door in the floor, a heavy lock drawn with dark strokes, and a hand reaching up from beneath. Cole tapped the page. "What's this, Liam?" The boy didn't answer, but his eyes flicked to the drawing, then to Cole, and back again. That night, after leaving the hospital, Cole didn't go home. He didn't report to the station either. Instead, he drove out toward the Krieg farm, headlights cutting through the night fog like blades. Most of the house was gone, reduced to a smoking husk, cordoned off by yellow tape. But the barn still stood. Barely. One wall was scorched black, the beams warped, but the roof held. Cole parked just outside the back fence and entered on foot, flashlight in hand. Inside the barn it was quiet. Dust hung in the air. Burn marks lined the rafters, and half the hayloft had collapsed, leaving bales scattered across the floor. The scent of old smoke and damp wood mixed in the air. He walked slowly, boots crunching over soot and gravel, retracing his memory. Silas had once mentioned an old root cellar under the barn, sealed after a flood. Most folks in Millstone had forgotten it existed, but not Liam. Cole moved aside bales one by one, fingers raw and sweating under leather gloves. 10 minutes passed, then 20. Just when doubt started to creep in, he saw it. Half hidden under a layer of charred hay and splintered timber, a rectangular outline in the floorboards. He dropped to his knees and brushed it clean. The trapdoor. There was a chain looped through an iron ring, secured with a padlock. Rusty, but solid. It was locked from the outside. Cole's heart pounded. The quiet buzz of the night around him grew louder, like the air itself had started listening. He pressed his ear to the wood. Nothing. He almost turned away, almost convinced himself it was just a storm shelter, empty like everything else. Then, barely audible, 3 dull, rhythmic knocks. Cole jerked back. It hadn't been the wind. Someone was down there. He reached for his belt, remembered he wasn't wearing his gear, and instead grabbed a metal pipe from a broken stall gate. With 2 strong swings, he cracked the lock open. The chain slid loose, and the trapdoor creaked upward. Stale air rushed out, thick with mildew and dust. He coughed, covering his nose. "Hello?" he called into the dark. A groan echoed up, low, weak, but unmistakably human. Cole clicked on his flashlight and descended the narrow steps. The light revealed stone walls, damp and crumbling. At the far end of the room, slumped against a support beam, was Silas Krieg, shirt torn, face bruised, wrists tied behind his back. Cole rushed forward. "Silas?" The man looked up slowly, eyelids heavy. "You found me," he rasped. Cole cut the bindings and lowered him to the floor. "Who did this?" Cole asked, kneeling beside him. Silas coughed, body trembling. "Felon," he whispered, voice nearly gone. Cole froze. That name wasn't familiar, not in any official way, but it scratched at something. He helped Silas to his feet, half dragging him up the stairs. Outside, the wind had picked up, sweeping across the field with a cold bite. "Can you walk?" Silas nodded faintly, blood drying along his temple. "Why would someone lock you down there?" Cole asked. Silas didn't answer at first. His eyes darted toward the barn wall, then toward the distance. They wanted me gone. House was bait." Cole's hands tightened into fists. The fire hadn't been random. Someone had set it up to look like Silas disappeared, maybe even make it seem like he started it. And Liam had seen something, enough to draw it. Cole glanced back at the barn, then at the farm beyond it. Whatever this was, it wasn't over. But one thing was now certain. It was locked from the outside, and beneath it, he heard a soft banging. Cole pried the lock open with a crowbar, sweat beading along his brow as the old metal latch gave way with a sharp crack. The trapdoor creaked open, releasing a draft of cool, musty air that smelled of earth and mildew. His flashlight cut through the darkness, revealing a steep, narrow stairway built of warped wooden planks. Every step groaned beneath his boots as he descended, the beam dancing across cobwebs and dust-covered walls. His heart pounded louder than his footfalls. Whatever was down there, it wasn't just old junk or forgotten storage. Halfway down, the flashlight caught something. A flicker of movement, a shape. Then he saw him. Silas Krieg. He was tied to a chair in the far corner of the cellar, gagged and slumped forward. His face was bruised and swollen, one eye nearly shut. His clothes were torn and stained, and dried blood ran down the side of his temple. For a moment, Cole froze. The reality of it hit him like a fist. Silas had been here the entire time. While the house burned above, while the bull stood guard, while everyone thought he was missing, he had been suffering in silence. Cole rushed forward, dropping to one knee. "Silas! Hold on! I've got you!" His voice echoed off the low ceiling, sharp and urgent. He pulled a pocket knife from his belt and sawed through the ropes binding the farmer's arms and legs. Silas groaned as the tension released. His lips moved, but no words came at first. His breathing was shallow, rasping through split lips. Cole removed the gag gently and steadied him. "Silas, who did this? Who tied you up?" The older man's head lolled to one side. Then he blinked slowly, focus returning. He whispered something, barely audible. Cole leaned in. "Say it again." "Fallon," Silas rasped. Cole's stomach tightened. Fallon. That name rang loud in his memory. Dorian Fallon, the so-called loan broker in town. Everyone knew him, but no one really knew him. He operated from a modest office near the freight station, but his reputation ran far deeper. Whispers of blackmail, silent partnerships, disappearing land deeds. If Silas had crossed Fallon, that meant trouble, serious trouble. Cole helped him to his feet, slinging Silas's arm over his shoulder and guiding him up the steps. "We're getting you out of here," he said, his tone flat with urgency. The two of them climbed slowly, the stairway groaning with each movement. Outside, the light of the early morning sun was just starting to break through the haze. Fire crews had finished combing through the wreckage, unaware of the trapdoor hidden under the floorboards. Cole shouted for help, and within minutes, paramedics rushed in. Silas was placed on a stretcher and loaded into an ambulance. As they pulled away, Cole stood in silence, his thoughts racing. He looked back toward the barn, where Liam had been taken earlier, and everything began to connect. Liam had seen something, maybe even everything. The boy must have known Silas was trapped. That explained why he had run into the burning house. He hadn't gone in for a toy or some keepsake. He'd gone in to save his father, and Ironclad had blocked the entrance, protecting what the boy couldn't explain. Later that day, Cole sat with Liam and Silas in a cramped motel room arranged through emergency services. Silas was resting, patched up and sedated. Liam sat on the edge of the bed, scribbling in his sketchbook. Cole watched him for a moment before speaking. "What did you see that night, Liam?" The boy didn't answer at first. Then slowly, he turned the sketchbook around. It was a drawing of 3 men in black jackets dragging someone through the front door. One of the men had a strange ring, a skull with wings. The detail was sharp, too sharp to be imagination. Cole leaned in. "Did you draw this from memory?" Liam nodded, silent. Cole recognized the symbol. Years ago, he had seen a similar insignia during his time overseas, on the arm of a contractor group that didn't play by rules. It wasn't just a gang, it was something deeper. He opened his phone and began snapping photos of the drawing, filing them into a folder. Then he pulled up a contact. D. Hunter. The name hadn't crossed his screen in years, but now it might be the only shot they had. "Cole," Silas croaked from the bed. His voice was hoarse but clearer now. He said he wanted the farm. He said if I didn't sign it over, he'd take Liam. Said no one would believe me. And when I refused? "They came," Cole finished, his jaw tightening. Silas nodded, closing his eyes. "Burned it. Left me to die." Cole stood and paced. The weight of it pressed heavy against his chest. This wasn't just a case of rough debt collection. It was an operation. Organized, clean, ruthless. And when the local sheriff's report came in saying there was no evidence of foul play at Fallon's office, Cole wasn't surprised. The entire place had been scrubbed, files gone, computers wiped, even the secretary was missing. It was too clean. That night, someone threw a rock through the motel window. It crashed onto the carpet, wrapped in paper. Cole picked it up. Scrawled in thick black marker were 6 words. Some doors should have stayed shut. He didn't hesitate. He packed Liam and Silas's things, loaded them into his truck, and moved them to a new safe house arranged through a buddy in the fire department. It wasn't official, but it was off the grid. Inside the safe house, Cole locked the door behind him and sat down with a folder. Inside were photographs, Silas tied up, Liam's drawings, pictures of the trapdoor, and that ring. He knew the local sheriff was compromised. He saw it in the way he avoided questions, in how fast he dismissed the fire as accidental. Cole needed help, real help. He dialed the number he hadn't called in a decade. The line clicked. "This is Hunter," came the voice, gravelly, alert. "It's Cole," he said. "I need internal enforcement." A pause. Then, "What's the situation?" "Blackmail, arson, kidnapping, the usual." There was a low sigh on the other end. "You're in deep." "I know," Cole said. He looked at Liam, asleep on the couch, and Silas resting behind the door. "But I'm not letting this one go." Hunter's voice turned cold. "Send me everything. I'll be there in 48. Cole hung up, steeling himself. This wasn't over. Not even close. But at least now, he wasn't alone. He glanced down at the threatening note again. The words burned into his mind. Some doors should have stayed shut. 3 months later, the valley had quieted, but the story of the fire refused to fade. The remains of Silas Decker's old wooden house had long since been cleared away, blackened beams, scorched earth, and all, but something deeper had been left uncovered. The bull hadn't just saved a boy. He had stopped something bigger. Federal agents had arrived in Millstone Valley 2 weeks after the fire, led there by a single name. Felon, Cole had muttered while filling out an incident report. The moment he said it, he'd seen the reaction in the senior investigator's face, tightening jaw, narrowed eyes. "You sure?" the man asked quietly. Cole nodded. That was all it took. What began as an investigation into suspected arson at a family farm turned into a statewide operation. Felon Rudd wasn't just a greedy land agent. He was a central piece in a much larger puzzle, a quiet but brutal network of fraud, land theft, and intimidation that had been operating across rural counties for over 5 years. Farms were burned down, some with unknown causes, some blamed on faulty wiring, all insured, and then, mysteriously, sold at deep discounts to shell companies. Most never knew who had really taken their land. But now, because of a boy, a bull, and a stubborn fireman who wouldn't quit, it was all unraveling. Silas sat on the back porch of his newly built home, smaller, made of stone and brick this time, with Liam's handprints set into the cement path leading to the front door. He stared out at the valley, mug of tea in one hand, and watched as a hawk circled overhead. His body still ached. The burns on his shoulder were healing, but slowly. The deeper pain came in waves, memories of heat, choking smoke, the sound of Liam screaming somewhere beneath beams that refused to budge. But even in the worst moments, he remembered the bull standing there, refusing to leave. Ironclad had become a legend. Moved to a local animal sanctuary just past Timber Hollow, the bull lived in open fields with plenty of shade and hay. Tourists came from nearby towns, snapping photos and whispering about how he'd stayed in a burning house to guard a child. But the legend never got in the way of the boy. Every Saturday morning, Liam would ride his bike to the sanctuary, backpack bouncing, sketchpad in hand. He would sit by the fence and draw. Not the fire, not anymore. Now it was trees, clear skies, and ironclad, grazing peacefully under the sun. The town had changed too. The old firehouse, once cramped and outdated, had been torn down. In its place stood a modern facility with better gear, more trucks, and a wide open training yard paved smooth and lined with hydrants. At its gate, a hand-carved wooden sign had been nailed to twin posts, sanded smooth and painted bold, Ironclad Grounds. No one questioned the name. Cole had received a medal for bravery, handed to him during a quiet ceremony by the state commissioner himself. Reporters asked about the moment he found Liam and how he knew to keep going. He didn't answer. Not at first. But later, when pressed again by a friend off camera, he simply said, "The bull knew. I followed him." He'd turned down a promotion offered shortly after, district captain in another county. Instead, he asked for something else, a new unit, one focused on rural arson and trafficking. Too many fires were blamed on accident. Too many families silenced. He wanted to change that. It was during a late debriefing one night that Cole's hunch paid off. Reviewing property transfers around Millstone Valley, he noticed something strange. One of the parcels near the Decker farm had been bought under the name Ephraim Pike, but Pike had died the year before. Another piece fell into place. Fake names, fake companies, and quiet sales. They were everywhere. A sting operation was planned in silence. No press, no warnings. Federal agents traced Felon to a private airstrip north of Ridgebarrow. He was scheduled to fly out on a small jet under the name Daniel Cresson. He almost made it. Almost. But as he stepped onto the tarmac, duffel bag slung over one shoulder, 2 black SUVs rolled in from the tree line. Doors flew open, guns raised. Felon dropped his bag. At the station, he barely said a word. Just sat there, eyes cold, lips pressed into a thin line. But when one of the agents mentioned the Decker farm, the house, the boy, the bull, Felon scoffed. He leaned forward, voice low and emotionless. "I thought the bull would have run," he said. Cole, standing just behind the glass of the observation room, clenched his fists. "But he didn't," he whispered to himself. Outside, the summer wind carried the scent of fresh earth. Back in the valley, Liam was drawing again, this time a picture of the firehouse with Ironclad Grounds in big letters at the base. Silas walked out to check on him, ruffling his hair gently. "You still drawing?" "Yeah," Liam replied, holding up the sketch. "No more fire, just blue skies and ironclad grazing." Silas nodded slowly, pride and pain mingling behind his eyes. "That's good. That's real good." And far away, in a room with no windows and locked doors, Felon sat quietly. When asked again why he burned the house with the boy inside, he said coldly, "I thought the bull would have run." But he didn't. Ironclad stood his ground, and that's what saved the boy.